Hi everybody, welcome to Live Blogger. I have combined all the videos in our course card design series into this single long video so that it's easy for you to follow. And in this video, we're basically going to create this design using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. And it is also responsive. So if I just decrease the width of the browser, this is how it looks on a tablet. And this is how it will look on a smartphone. So it is completely responsive. And I will also leave the link of the source code in the description so you can just go ahead and copy and paste it to your websites. And in the end, I will also show you how to add this design to your Blogger website. So let's get started. So here we can see this is how it looks. We can see that we have all these course cards over here, and we also have a hover effect, and we can add any number of courses over here and it will be stacked up in the correct place over here after the last course. Right, I have opened up this folder called course cards and I just opened it with VS Code. So I also have this folder called images, and in that we have these 4 images which we're going to use in our design. So let's start by creating all the necessary files. So let's click on new file and we'll create an HTML file. I'll just name it index.html, and we'll also create a CSS file. I'll just name it style.css. And we'll also create a JavaScript file. Alright, now let's start with the index.html file, and in VS Code you have this shortcut where you can just press exclamation and press tab, and you'll have this basic HTML5 code. And let's link our CSS file over here. So I'll just tap link and press tab, and in the href I'll just tap style.css. And we'll also link our JavaScript file over here. So I'll just tap script:/src, press tab, and here I'll just tap main.js. And let's also get the link of the font that we're going to use. So we're going to use a font called Roboto. So let's get the font from fonts.google.com. Right, here I'm in fonts.google.com, and here we can see we have the Roboto font. If you don't have the font displayed over here, you can just search for the font over here. Right, let's click on the font, and we need to have 2 styles of this font. So we need to have the regular font. So this is the regular font, and we also need to have this bold version. So let's select the regular version. So let's click on select this style, and let's scroll down and let's also get the bold version. So we'll just get black 900, and we have these 2 fonts displayed over here, and here we have the link of the font. So let's copy this and let's paste it in our HTML file. So here I'll just paste it inside the head section. Right, now let's start with the markup of our course cards. Right, now the first thing we will do is we'll create a container division, and we'll give it a class of courses container. And in that we will have all these course cards. Now we can see that these are all links, so you can just add the link of your course over here for each of these cards. So what we need to do is we need to add all these course cards into anchor tags so that we can add links to that. So let's create a division with the class of card, and in that we will add an anchor tag, and we will add all the content inside the card into this anchor tag. Now the first thing we need to do is add this category. So we have this category for each of these course cards. So for that, let's create a division with the class of category, and in that I'll just type art for the first one. Now right now we are adding these categories directly over here, but later I'll show you how to add these dynamically using JavaScript. Alright, the next thing we will do is get the image. So let's create an img tag, and here I'll just type images / course1.png, and the next thing we need to have is this heading. So let's create an h2, and we'll give the class of title, and here I'll just type drawing essentials, and let's open this in our browser and let's see how it looks. So I have this extension called live server installed in VS Code. So once you install that, you can just right click over here in the HTML and click on open with live server, and here we can see that our design is displayed in the browser. Right, now the next thing we need to have is this description of the course. So for that, let's create a division and let's give it a class of description, and here I'll just add the text. Alright, now the last thing we need to have is this section right here where we have the price and the duration. So for that, let's create a division with a class of info, and in that we will have a division with a class of price, and here I'll just add the price. So for this we have a price of $299.99. And then we have this duration. So for that, let's create a division with the class of duration, and in that we need to have this icon, and after that we need to have this text, So for the icon we will use hero icons. So you can just go to this website called heroicons.com and just search for time, and here we can see the icon. So let's copy this SVG and let's paste it over here. I'll just create a division for that, so I'll just type time icon and paste it over here. And the last thing we need to have over here is the unit. So here after this division, I'll just create a division with the class of unit, and here I'll just type 12 because it's 12 hours. So that's basically it with the first course, and we have all the elements over here. So we have the category, we have the image, the heading, the description, and the icon, and we also have the time over here. So now let's go ahead and copy and paste this course card for the other courses. So I'll just copy it from here till here, and let's paste it 3 more times because we have 4 courses over here. Right now we are directly copying and pasting this into our HTML, but later I'll show you how to display these courses dynamically using JavaScript using an array. For now, let's go ahead and paste it 3 more times. And I'll just quickly go ahead and change the details. Right, so I have changed the details of all these courses. So here we can see we have different headings and details over here. I also changed the link of the images. So we have course4.png over here. Here we have course3.png. And now let's go to our website and let's see how it looks. And here we can see we have all these details displayed over here. So that's basically it with the HTML of our design. Right, here's the source code of our design, and if you scroll up, here we can see we have already linked our CSS file. So let's start with the CSS of our design. The first thing we will do is we will style this card division over here. So we have this division with the class of card. So let's go to our style.css file, and let's type courses container, which is the container division, this division right here, and in that we have a division with the class of card. And first of all, let's set the width of the card to 240 pixels, and we will set a background color of white, and we will also add a font family of Roboto and sans serif, and we'll also set a padding of 16 pixels, and let's also add a box shadow, and we will set the values to 0, 9 pixels, 17 pixels, -6 pixels, RGBA 0, 0, 0 and 0.2. So this is how it looks right now. We can see that we have this width of 240 pixels for these cards. Now inside the card division we have an anchor tag. So if you go to the HTML file, here we can see we have this card division, and in that we have the anchor tag, and in the anchor tag we have all the content. So now let's style the anchor tag. So here I'll just type courses container card A, and first of all let's remove the underlines. So let's type text decoration and set it to none, and we'll also set the default text color. So we'll set the color of the text to 14213D. Now the next thing we will do is we will set the display of the anchor tag to flex. Now if you go back to the original design, here we can see that we have these cards over here, and all of them have the same height, even though this third card has more content over here. But we can see that all of these elements are positioned correctly. That's because we have set a display of flex. So let's set the display of the anchor tag to flex. Let's go back and let's type display of flex. And now we can see that all the elements are one next to the other. So we have to set the flex direction to column, and we'll also set the justify content to space between, so that all the elements are spaced correctly. Now the next thing we will do is we will remove these spaces around the image. So for the image we have 100% width. So for that let's go back to our CSS and let's target the image. So let's type courses container card img, and we need to set a negative margin for that, because here we can see for the card we have set a padding. So this padding will be applied to all the elements in our card. So we have to remove the padding from the image. So for that we have to type margin, and we have to set it to a negative margin. So we have to type -16 pixels because we have a padding of 16. And now we can see we have the correct width for the image, and we'll also set object fit to cover so that the image has the correct proportions. Right now the next thing we will do is style the category. So here we can see we have these categories for all these cards. So let's go back to our HTML file, and here we can see we have this division with the class of category. So let's style that. So here I'll just type courses container card category, and we need to position this category relative to the card. So for the card, let's type position and let's set it to relative, and here we'll set the position to absolute, and we will set the top position to 8 pixels, and we'll set the right position to 8 pixels. And now we can see we have this category displayed over here. Let's add some more styles. Let's set the background color to 14213D, and let's set the color of the text to white, and we'll also add some padding. So let's tap padding, and let's set the padding to 2 pixels top and bottom and 16 pixels left and right, and we'll also set the font size to 13 pixels, and we'll set the text transform to uppercase, and we'll also add a border radius. So let's set the border radius to 10 pixels, and that looks alright. Alright, now the next thing we will do is we will style these titles. So for the titles, we have a h2 with the class of title. So let's type courses container card h2.title, and let's set the font size to 20 pixels, and we will set a margin of 28 pixels top, 0 for right, 10 pixels bottom, and 0 for left. And we'll also add a line height, and let's set it to 1.4 for headings with multiple lines. Now if we right click over here and click on inspect, and if we select this card, we can see that we have a width of 272 pixels. So here at the bottom left you can see the width 272 pixels, but we had set a width of 240 pixels. Now we have a width of 272 pixels because of this padding right here. So it is also adding the padding on the left and the right to the width. Now if you don't want that to happen, then you can go back to your CSS and you can select all the elements inside courses container. So let's tap courses container and also courses container asterisk to select all the elements, and here to type box sizing and set it to border box. And now if you go back and if I right click over here and click on inspect, and if I click on card, we can see that we have a width of 240 pixels. Alright, now let's style this description. So let's go back, and in the HTML we can see that for the description we have a division with the class of description. So let's type courses container card description, and let's set the font size to 15 pixels, and we will set the color of the text to 333, and let's set the margin to 0, and we'll also add a line height of 1.7. Alright, that's it with the description. Now let's style these two elements right here. We have the price and the duration. So for that we have a division with the class of info, and in that we have the price and the duration. So let's target this info division. Here I'll just type courses container card info, and the first thing we need to do is we need to place them one next to the other. So here we can see we have the price on the left side and the duration on the right side. So let's type display of flex, and we will type justify content to space between so that they are on the extreme left and right sides. And let's set a background color, and let's set it to EDF 6F9. Now even for the info we need to have full width, so we need to add negative margins. So let's type margin of negative 16 pixels, and let's also add some margin top. So let's type margin top, and let's set it to 20 pixels, and we'll also add some padding. So let's set a padding of 12 pixels top and bottom and 16 pixels left and right. And let's also bring these two elements to the center vertically. So let's type align items to the center. Right now let's style this price. So for the price we have a division with the class of price. So let's type courses container card info price, and let's set the font size to 28 pixels, and let's set the font weight to 900, and let's set the color of the text to DF0688. Now for the price, we also need to have a dollar symbol on the left. So for that we will use a before selector. So let's type courses container card info price : before, and let's set a content of dollar symbol, and let's set the font size of this dollar symbol to 18 pixels, and let's set the font weight to normal. And now we can see we have this dollar symbol over here on the left. Now let's style this duration. So for the duration, we need to have the icon on the left and the number on the right. So if you go back to the HTML file, here we can see we have this division with the class of duration, and then we have this time icon over here, and then we have this unit. I think we should rename this to value. Right, now let's go back to our styler CSS file, and let's target this duration, and we want them to be one next to the other. So let's type courses container card info duration, and let's set the display to flex. Now we can see that the time icon is not being displayed, so let's go back, and we need to add a height and a width. So if you go back to the HTML file, we have this division with the class of time icon. So let's target that. Let's type courses container card info time icon, and let's set a width of 18 pixels and a height of 18 pixels. And now we can see we have this icon. Now after the duration, we need to have hours written over here. So here we can see we have 12 hours, 4 hours, and so on. So for that we will use after selector. So here I'll just type courses container card info duration : after, and let's set the content to HRS, and let's set a margin left of 4 pixels. And now we can see we have 12 hours displayed over here. Now we also need to have a hover effect for these cards. So let's go back, and here for the card, let's type courses container card : hover, and let's set a transform scale. So let's type transform scale, and let's set it to 1.03, and here we will add a smooth transition. So let's type transition, and let's set it to all 400 milliseconds ease. And now we can see we have this hover effect for all these cards. Now the last thing we need to do is we need to position all of them one next to the other, 3 in a row. So let's go back, and let's target this courses container division. So this is the main division right here. In that we have all the course cards. So here I'll just type courses container, and we will set the display of the courses container to grid. And now we need to specify how many columns should be there inside this grid. So let's type grid template columns, and we will set it to 1FR, 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 which means 3 items will be on the same row, and we'll also add a gap of 32 pixels. And now we can see we have all these elements over here. Now we'll also set a max width. So let's set a max width of 800 pixels, and we'll also bring it to the center. So let's type margin 20 pixels for top and bottom, and auto for left and right. Now the last thing we need to do over here is that we need to bring these 2 info sections to the bottom, like this one right here. So for that we have to set the height of the anchor tag to 100%. So let's go over here to the anchor tag, and let's set a height of 100%. And now we can see everything looks alright. So that's basically it with the desktop version of our course cards. Now let's make it responsive. Now we will set a breakpoint for 850 pixels. So here I'll just create a media query. Let's type at media max width, and let's set it to 850 pixels. Now if the width of the browser is less than 850 pixels, then whatever styles we have over here will be added to the page. So the first thing we will do is we will set the grid template columns. So let's tap courses container, and let's set the grid template columns to 1FR, 1FR. This is for the tablet version. So let's decrease the width of this browser. And now we can see there are two items in a row. Now let's also set the width of the elements to 100%. So let's type courses container card and we'll set the width to 100%. Right now let's set a height for these images. So here I'll just type courses container card img and we'll set a height of 200 pixels. So this is basically our tablet version. Now the last thing we will do is style the mobile version. So let's decrease the width even more. Let's create one more media query. So let's type at media and let's set a max width of 600 pixels. And here we'll type courses container and we'll set the grid template columns to 1fr, which means just one column. And now we can see we have just one item in a row when we are on a mobile version. And we'll also add a max width for the courses container. So here I'll just type max width and let's set it to 320 pixels. And that looks alright. So that's basically it with the design of our courses cards. Now in this video I'll show you how to make it dynamic. So we will store all these details inside a JavaScript file and we will generate all these course cards based on the data that we have in our JavaScript. So let's get started. Right, here is our source code and if we scroll down we can see that we have already linked our JavaScript file over here. And if we take a look at this source code here, we can see that we have added all these card divisions over here inside the courses container division. So we have this card division over here for the first card and in that we have the category and the title and all of these things over here. So we have added all of these things over here in the HTML itself. Now what we're going to do is we're going to generate all this code of this card division using JavaScript. So let's go to our JavaScript file and the first thing we need to do is we need to create an array of objects. So let's type const and we'll just name it courses and let's create an array, and in the array we will have several objects. So for the object let's create curly braces. Now in this object we will store all the details that we have over here. So we need to store the category, the thumbnail image, the title, the description, the price, the duration, and also the link of the course. So let's go back to our JavaScript file and let's add all of those details over here. So let's type URL for the link of the course, and for now I'll just type hash. You can add the link of your course over here, and let's add a comma, and the next thing we will have is the title. So let's type title. And the first title we need to have is drawing essentials. So let's type that over here. And the next thing we will have is the thumbnail URL. So I'll just type thumbnail. And the thumbnail URL is basically the link of the image. Now all the images are inside the images folder. So let's type images / and the first image is called, let's see, it's called course1.png. So let's type that over here. So this is the value of the thumbnail. Now the next thing we need to have is the category. So here we have a category of art. So let's create a new value over here. So let's type category art. And the next thing we need to have is the description. So let's type description. And let's add the description over here. And then we need to have the price. So let's type price, and the price is $299.99. And then lastly we have the duration. So let's type duration, and the duration is 12 hours. So that's basically it with the first course. Now in this way you can go ahead and add any number of courses you want. So I'll just quickly go ahead and add the details of all the other courses. Alright, so I have added the details of all the courses over here. So here we can see we have the course 1, which is drawing essentials. Then we have design masterclass, which is the second course over here. And in this way we have added the details of all the courses over here. Now if you want to add more courses, you can just go ahead and copy this and paste it down here and just change these details. Alright, now the next thing we need to do is we need to create this markup. So we need to have this card division, and in that we have the anchor tag, and in that we have all these elements. Now we need to delete all of this from here. from the HTML, and we need to generate all of these using JavaScript. So let's go ahead and create a function for that. So here I'll just create a function and I'll just name it display course. Now in this function we're going to get some arguments over here. So we need to get all these arguments into this function and we're going to use them inside this function. So let's add the names of the arguments over here. So I'll just name it URL value for the URL value. And then we have the title, so I'll just name it title value. And then we have category, so I'll just name it category value. And then we have thumbnail value. You can name these anything you want. Description value, price value, and lastly we have duration value. Right, now the next thing we will do is we'll create all these elements. So the first thing we need to create is this course card. So let's create a constant and let's name it card equals document.createElement, and we'll create a div element. So here we can see we have this div with the class of card. So let's add a class of card over here. So I'll just type card.classList.add card. So now we have created a division with the class of card with these 2 lines of code. Now the next thing we will do is we'll create this anchor tag. So let's type const a for the anchor tag equals document.createElement, and we'll create an a tag, and you can name these elements anything you want, card and a. And the next thing we need to do is we need to add the href. So here we need to add the link of the course. So let's set the attribute, and for that you have to type a.setAttribute href, and we need to set the attribute value to this value right here, URL value. So let's type URL value over here. Alright, let's go back to the HTML, and the next thing we need to have is this category. So we need to have a division with the class of category. So let's create a constant, let's name it category equals document.createElement. We need to have a div, and let's add a class of category. So let's type category.classList.add category, and in this category we need to add this category value. So here we can see we have art displayed over here. So let's add that. For that you have to type category.innerHTML equals, and we have named it category value over here. So let's type category value. Alright, let's go back to the HTML, and the next thing we need to have is this image. So let's create an img tag. So let's type const img equals document.createElement, and we need to create an img element, and for the img we need to set the src attribute to the course thumbnail. So let's type img.setAttribute src, and we need to set it to the thumbnail value. So let's type thumbnail value over here. Alright, let's go back to the HTML, and the next thing we need to have is this h2 with the class of title, and in that we have this title value. So let's create a constant, let's name it title equals document.createElement, and let's create an h2, and let's give it a class of title. So let's type title.classList.add title, and in that we need to have the title value. So here we can see we have it named title value. So let's type title.innerHTML equals title value. Alright, let's go back to the HTML, and the next thing we need to have is the description. So we need to have a division with a class of description. So let's type const description equals document.createElement div, and description .classList.add, and we'll give it a class of description, and let's type description.innerHTML, and we need to set it to the description value. So let's type description value, and the next thing we need to have is this division with the class of info. So let's create a division. Let's type const info equals document.createElement div, and let's give it a class of info, And the next thing we need to have is this division with the class of price. So let's create a const and let's give it a name of price equals document.createElement, and let's create a div and let's give it a class of price. And in the price we need to have this price value. So let's type price.innerHTML equals price value. And let's go back, and the next thing we need to have is the duration. So let's create a division with the class of duration. So let's type const duration equals document.createElement div, and let's give it a class of duration. And the next thing we need to have is this division with the class of time icon. So let's type const time icon equals document.createElement div, and let's give it a class of time icon. And in this time icon we need to add this SVG. So let's copy this SVG code from here, and let's go back, and here we'll just type time icon.innerHTML equals, and we'll just add it inside template literals. So I'll just paste it over here. And the next thing we need to have is this division with the class of value, and in that we have the value. So let's create a division. Let's type const value equals document.createElement div, and let's give it a class of value. And inside value we need to have this duration value. So here we can see we have the duration value. Let's add it over here. Let's type value.innerHTML equals duration value. Now that we have created all these elements, we need to create a proper markup. So we need to add some divisions inside other divisions and so on. So I'll just create a comment over here, and I'll just type appending elements. Alright, now let's go back to our HTML file and let's see how these elements are structured. Here we can see that the cart division is inside the courses container division. So the first thing we need to have is the reference of this courses container division. So let's go back to our JavaScript file, and let's create a constant over here, and let's name it courses container equals document.querySelector, and let's type courses container over here. Right now let's scroll down, and we need to add the card inside the courses container. So let's type courses container dot append child, and here we need to add the card. So for the card we have given it a name of card. So let's add that over here, card. Right now let's go back, and in the card we need to have the anchor tag. So let's type card.append child, and here we need to type A. If you scroll up we can see that we have given it a name of A. Right now the next thing we need to have is the category, so it should be inside the anchor tag. So let's type A.append child and category, and in the anchor tag we also need to have the image. So let's type A.append child, and for the image we have given it a name of img. So let's type img over here, and in that we also need to have the h2, which is the title. So let's type A.append child, and for the title we have a name of title. So let's type title over here, and then we need to have the description. So let's type A.append child, and we have named it description. And the next thing we need to have is this division with the class of info. So for that we have created this constant with the name of info. So let's add that, A.append child info. Now the next thing we need to do is inside the info division we need to have the price. So let's type info.append child price, and in that we also need to have the duration. So let's type info.append child duration. And now in the duration we need to have the time icon. So let's type duration dot append child time icon, and in the duration we also need to have this value. So let's type duration dot append child value. Alright, so now we have created the structure of our course cards. Now the last thing we need to do is we need to call this function display course, and we need to call that function for all the objects that we have inside the course. So for that we will use a for each loop. So let's create a function for that. Let's type const generate course data, and let's type courses, which is the name of the array, dot for each to loop through all the courses. And for each of the courses we will just give it a name of C. You can name this anything you want. Right now for each of the course we need to call the function display course. So let's type display course, and we need to pass all these arguments for the function. So the first thing we need to have is the URL value. Now we can access the individual courses using C, and if we type dot we can see all these options over here. Let's select URL for the first one, and the next one is title. So let's type C dot title, and then we have C dot category, then we have C dot thumbnail, then we have C dot description, then we have C dot price, then we have C dot duration. Right, so that's it with the function call. Now we can go back to our HTML file and we can just delete all of these lines of code for the cards. Alright, so here you can see I have deleted all the lines of code for the cards. Now we're going to generate all of them using JavaScript. So let's call the function over here. Let's type generate course data, and let's go back to our browser, and here we can see that all the courses are displayed over here. Now if you go back to our JavaScript and if you go to the array, and if I make some changes over here, so if I just type for beginners over here, and if you go back to the browser, here we can see that the title is updated over here. Now if you go back and if you delete one of these courses from here, and if you go back to the browser, we can see that we just have 3 courses. You can also add more courses over here. So if I just copy and paste this down here, now here we can see we have 5 courses. So in this way you can go ahead and add and remove new courses to your design. Right here I'm in the dashboard of my Blogger website, and we can add this design into a post or a page. Let's add it inside a post. So let's click on new post, and for the title I'll just type our courses, and now here we can add the code. Now the first thing you have to do is go into the HTML view. So if it is in the compose view, just click on this button and click on HTML view, and here we can add the HTML, the CSS and the JavaScript. So first of all let's add the CSS. So let's create a style tag, and in this style tag we will add the CSS. So let's go to our source code, and you can find the link of the source code in the description. So let's copy all the CSS. Let's go to the style.css file and let's copy everything from here, and let's paste it over here inside the style tag. Right now let's go ahead and paste the HTML. So I'll just make some space over here after the style tag, and let's go back to our source code and let's go to the HTML file, and let's copy this line of code inside the body. So let's copy this and let's paste it over here. And the last thing we need to add is the JavaScript. So let's create a script tag, and let's go back to our source code and let's go to the main.js file, and let's copy all of this JavaScript from here, and let's paste it over here inside the script tag. And now the next thing we need to do is we need to upload the images and get the link of the images and paste it over here. So here we can see for the thumbnail we have images /course3.png. Now we don't have this folder called images in our Blogger website, so we have to first of all upload the image somewhere and get the link and paste it over here. And here we can see inside this array we have all these details of the course. So this is the URL of the course. We have the title, the thumbnail image, category, description, price and duration. And if you go back to the design, here we can see we have all those details over here. So whatever we have over here will be added inside the design. So if you want to change anything, you can go ahead and change it over here. And if you want to add new courses, you can just go ahead and copy and paste this object and paste it down here. And if you want to remove any of these courses, you can just delete one of these objects from here. Alright, now let's go ahead and upload the images. So I'll just upload it over here itself, and let's get the link and paste it over here inside the array. So let's click on this button called Insert Image. Let's click on Upload from Computer, and let's click on Choose Files. And we have all these 4 course thumbnails. Let's select all of these and let's click on Open. And let's select all of these and click on Select. And let's select original size, and let's click on OK. And here we can see we have all the images uploaded over here. Now we have to get the link of these images and paste it over here inside the array. So first of all, let me just arrange this code a little bit. So here we can see we have all these 4 images over here. Now we don't know which image is which, so for that we have to go to the Compose view. So let's click on this button and let's click on Compose view. And here we can see the first image is this one right here. So this is the first image. Then we have the second image, the third image. So all these images are in order. So let's go back to the HTML view. And let's get the link of the first image. So this is the first image link. So let's copy this from here till the end. And let's paste it in the first thumbnail value. Right now let's select the second image. So this is the second image. Let's get this link and let's paste it over here in the second course thumbnail. So let's just replace this with the link. And then we have the third image. Let's get the link and let's paste it over here in the third thumbnail. And then lastly we have the fourth image, and let's get the link and let's paste it over here in the fourth thumbnail value. Right now let's go ahead and delete all these images. And now let's click on Publish and confirm. Right here we can see our post has been published. Let's click on View. And here we can see that our courses are displayed over here, but we have some problems in the styling. So let's fix it first of all. Let's right click over here and click on Inspect. And the first thing we need to fix is that we don't have the correct width for these images. So here we can see this is the image, and if we take a look at the styles over here, we can see that for the image we already have some height set to inherit, and we also have a max width set over here by the theme. So we have to remove these 2 styles from here. So this is our selector. So here I'll just type height and set it to unset, and also max width and set it to unset. And now we can see we have the correct width for the image. And the next thing we need to improve is the padding over here for this category. If you take a look at the original design, we don't have that much padding. So let's take a look at the category and let's see what are the styles applied over here. So let's scroll down, and here we can see we have a line of code line height, and it is set to 1.6 m. And if I remove that, we have the correct padding. So we have to add the correct line height for the category. So this is our selector, and here if I just type line height and set it to 1, we'll have the correct padding. So let's fix these 2 issues. Let's go back to our post and let's go to the image, and here we need to type height and set it to unset, and also max width and set it to unset. And for the category we have to set the line height. So let's type line height and set it to 1. Right now let's update this, and let's go back to our post and let's refresh this page. And now we can see we have the correct styling. Let's also check the mobile version, and this is the iPad version. Let's also check the mobile version, and this is the mobile version. So everything looks alright. Now you can go ahead and add the links of your courses over here. So if you go back to your post and if you go to the array, here we can see we have this URL, and if you add a URL over here, so let's test this URL. Let's type http google.com and let's update this. And let's go back to our post and let's refresh this page. And now if I click on the first course, we are taken to the Google homepage. So that's basically how you add this design to your Blogger website. Alright, so that's it for this video. I will leave the link of the source code in the description. And if you have any doubts, you can ask in the comments below. And if you like this video, please click on the like button and subscribe to this channel to get the latest video updates. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a nice day.